great commander, and great helmsman, Chairman Mao.
Of all the horror that communism has brought to the world, perhaps the worst was brought to us by Mao Tse Tung.
When I was in China, we were all told Mao was like our God. When we wanted to say what I say is absolutely true, we would say, I swear to Chairman Mao.
Mao used his power to crush the Chinese people. The majority of his crimes came in two distinct waves.
From 1959 to 1961 was the so-called Great Leap Forward, which was actually a gigantic leap backwards in which he tried to collectivize and communize agriculture. And they came to him after the first year and they said, well, Chairman, 5 million people have died of famine. And he said, no matter, keep going. And the second year they came back and they said 10 million Chinese have died. He said, no matter, continue. The third year, 20 million Chinese have died. And he said finally, well, perhaps this is not the best idea that I've ever had.
When he was told, his people were dying of starvation, Mao said, educate the peasants to eat less. Deaths have benefit. They can fertilize the land.
Mao's approach turned from brutal indifference to revenge. With the Cultural Revolution, his mission was to destroy both enemies and intellectuals.
Professors, teachers sat in the corner with a dunce cap on them. They were made to get down on all fours and bark like a dog.
Zheng Chang and her family also found themselves in Mao's crosshairs.
My father was one of the few who stood up to Mao and protested the Cultural Revolution. My mother was under tremendous pressure to denounce my father. She refused. So as a result, my mother was made to kneel on broken glass. She was paraded in the streets where children spat at her and threw stones at her. She was exiled to a camp.
When her father wrote to protest the Cultural Revolution, he paid the ultimate price.
My mother tried to stop him. My mother said, do you want to ruin the lives of our children? So he said, what about the children of the victims? As a result, he was imprisoned, tortured, driven insane. He was exiled to a camp and died prematurely, very tragically.
As a victim of Mao's crushing rule, Zheng Chang's father was not alone.
Some 65 million Chinese died under Maoist communism.
And Mao just didn't care. And he said for all his projects to take off, half of China may well have to die.
By a ratio of 3 or 4 to 1, we certainly can say that Mao was the greatest mass murderer of the 20th century.
Two of my favorite political philosophers, Mao Tse Tung and Mother Teresa.
Dunn's comments, once again, highlight the odd treatment that leftist totalitarianism receives by too many in our society. Communism is looked at as something we can borrow from liberally, even today. But the truth is that it is among history's most proficient killers.
According to the Black Book of Communism, published by Harvard University Press, nearly 100 million people died under communism in the 20th century. But it all flows out of this idea that the communists think that they can create a new society. And anybody who gets in their way, they will cut down, they will kill, they will imprison, and they will eliminate in pursuit of that goal.